What's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game hangout. It is Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific here in San Francisco, California. I'm Mike Mahardy. I'm here with a few of my coworkers. Jake Decker, what's up? People are saying you look good in that color shirt.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can tell by the stream, but it's
I only
nice
saw
pink.
like Josh. Or actually, I think Josh just pointed out it was pink, not white.
I saw like 3 or 4 people say it. You look good.
Thank you, chat.
You should wear it more often.
I wear it a lot.
I know you do. That was the joke. Pete Brown, what's up?
Hey, man.
Pete, what do you do here?
What do I do here? Review video games, and I tell people to review games, and I say, review it better.
Nice. What game are you working on now?
I just finished up playing Momodora Reverie in the Moonlight, which is the 4th in the series of these sort of like, I guess you could call them Metroidvania games, but this one has like Dark Souls-ish type combat, which is like, just, I'm lumping together these very general terms for these games, but it works, and it's pretty good. Short.
Cool.
But good.
We can expect a review.
Yeah, I think probably
soonish?
this weekend, yeah. It's
Cool.
sort of like a little pet project. No one asked me to do it, but it's one of those games I want to highlight.
Kelly Plaggy,
Hi, it's me.
what's going on?
A lot. Attack on Titan is happening soon, so I'm working on that.
Yeah, a resident anime expert.
That's me.
That Death Note movie.
Oh my god, don't even talk to me.
What is this? Yeah, explain this to me before we get into games.
The Death Note live action movie trailer, or it's a teaser, the Netflix original dropped, and I'm really upset because it's all wrong. Everything's wrong. There were cheerleaders. There's no cheerleaders. Light does not make out with anybody in that anime. I'm really mad about it. Stupid. I'm so upset.
Wait, sorry, who doesn't make out with anyone?
Light, the main character, his name's Light.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't know anything about Death Note, it's about a kid who's really smart in Japan, and he gets a book that's you can kill anybody by writing their name in the book.
Oh, okay.
But this one is like he's apparently a player, and he like dates cheerleaders.
Oh, yeah.
And then writes their name in the book.
That's dark.
Yeah.
So Light's just pimping this entire movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just it's the tone's all wrong. Look that.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
But
not right.
What's wrong with that?
It's not
Netflix doesn't do anything bad, so it's got to be good, right?
right. Get out.
Iron Fist is faring well. / no, it's not. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm really upset.
All right, so Death Note. I'll be sure to not check out that trailer after the lobby.
See, there should be no making out. There's no police cars. Anyway, that's me. That's my introduction.
Interesting. All right, and if you're joining us in the Twitch chat or YouTube chat, we have that up. I'll be monitoring that the whole time. I do have questions about Persona 5, Yooka-Laylee, and Mass Effect Andromeda through Twitter. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. First, I want to get to a giveaway that we usually do. I'm going to have Jake Decker.
Oh, now you want me to hold it again.
Yeah, I was kind of messing with him before. We have a couple of giveaways. Like I said, we have a lot of like collector's editions and random pieces of game memorabilia in our Nick Margarita Memorial Library here at GameSpot. Go that way. Get that on the camera there. We have a Dota 2 Special Edition mouse and a mouse pad for which to scroll that smooth mouse across.
It
smooth
features
mouth.
16.8 million colors.
Features what?
16.8 million colors.
Keep going. Hit me with the specs.
So you can
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm. People want to
farm
know.
some
This is a
creeps.
giveaway.
That's all I know about Dota.
It's good for 30
Farm
million
creeps.
clicks.
The rival. What is it? Rival.
Yeah, I don't know it. Yeah.
Okay.
Optical, 6,500 CPI, 30
Okay.
million clicks.
Cool.
Oh,
I'm into it. Anyway, yeah. If you're in the Twitch chat, you can see the lobby giveaway link right there. If you follow GameSpot on Twitter and then retweet the tweet about the giveaway, later on the week, you could be selected for us to give you that sweet Dota 2 merch, swag, whatever term you want to use. Cool. I do have a few news items I want to get through before we get to the meat of the show, but kind of a slow week for news, actually. Orisa, the robot character from Overwatch, is now live on all 3 platforms. You feel like playing her. She's more of a tank character, protects them. She's not in competitive play yet, but she will be soon. You can kind of see some gameplay here. She has an attack that it's called Halt. It's kind of like, not as powerful, but it's sort of like Zarya's Graviton Surge that pulls people in and kind of locks them in place. She seems like a cool character. It's the first tank to be added to the game. Sombra, Ana were both, Sombra was more offensive, Ana was a support character. But yeah, so Orisa, the Omnic, I believe the robots are called in Overwatch. I could be butchering that. But yeah, she is available if you want to try her out. I know PS4, Nick Margarita was saying PS4 servers were down last night, so he never got the chance to play, but hopefully they're more stable today. And you could check more. There's also like a patch update out for platforms. You could check that out on GameSpot.com. We have a news story about it. Go read that. Go check out Orisa. I'm pretty excited to play her this weekend. Moving on, Fallout 4 VR will apparently be on the show floor at E3 2017. And according to Pete Hines, who spoke to Todd Howard, so that's Pete Hines, Bethesda's what do you want to head of
Mr. Marketing?
Yeah, head of marketing at Bethesda, said he spoke to Todd Howard, and Todd Howard said it will blow our minds. Take that with a grain of salt if you want to. Here's the news story right here. It's probably more legible than everything I just said, but yeah, it was Hip Hop Gamer was doing an interview with Pete Hines, and then Pete Hines was talking about it. But yeah, if your E3 is open to the public this year, if you happen to be going, you can check out Fallout 4 in VR. We also spoke to Todd Howard about the advantages of VR with open world games in a recent interview when he got inducted into the BAFTA Hall of Fame. Sorry, Academy of Arts and Science, Interactive Sciences Hall of Fame. So you can go read that on GameSpot as well. But that's pretty much it for news this week. Pete, do you have any news of any sort?
There's a new Ghostbusters VR game that launched today out of the blue.
Oh, I just meant it's your birthday coming up.
Yes, my birthday is coming up.
It's going on a trip for the weekend.
Celebrate.
Going to Portland for the weekend. Gonna do what one
you
does in
would.
Portland.
Here's to the freaking Portland weekend. What are you going to be doing? Eating, what's that donut shop up there?
Blue Star. I mean, the one people I think talk about is Voodoo because it's like, oh, we put some stupid cereal on your donut. I take donuts like a little bit seriously, probably more than I should.
Is there a donut gang war up there? And you're just like Blood and Crips, but
I don't know.
Voodoo and Blue Star?
Blue Star is like high quality like bakery donuts. Voodoo is just kind of like, these are ridiculous.
Don't wear blue in the Voodoo neighborhood is what you're telling me?
Yes. I'll probably go retro game shopping, gonna go ice skating, gonna drink lots of coffee.
Sweet.
Stuff like that. It's gonna rain a lot though,
Cool.
I guess.
Well, that sounds fun.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to watching your cat.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're staying at my
I
place.
get to cat sit.
Yeah.
Pete's got a pretty cute cat that I've cat sit before.
And I have a camera that keeps an eye on you at all times.
Yes, on me, not the cat. There was like a little Freudian slip on your part.
No,
You'd be scrolling around.
meant
You could
you.
talk to me through it too, can't you?
Yes.
That creeps me out.
Yes.
Mike,
Moving
wake
on
up.
from that. Yeah, Mike. Anyway, sorry, that's a lot of weird things going through my head. What about you guys before we get into the show? Anything exciting coming up aside from games that you're working on? Me and you have some stuff.
Oh yeah, we do. Reboot.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you to pimp our stuff, and you're just, no, I don't have anything.
Well, I mean, you're kind of taking a dump on Mass Effect, and I don't really want to.
I'm not taking a dump on Mass Effect. I'm looking at it in a mature, critical way.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, that goes up Sunday at 3.
Mm-hmm. That's our show, Reboot. It's like an opinion editorial show that Jake and I work on. Yeah, so check that out. Callie, what about you?
Like I said, I'm working on anime stuff, just like how to watch, where to watch Attack on Titan Season 2, if you care about that. And that's it, I think. I'm probably forgetting something.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of stuff coming out on GameSpot. We have a lot of like Zelda guides and whatnot going up too. Mass Effect starter stuff if you want to get into that game, which we're going to talk about later on the show. First, I want to get into Yooka-Laylee. Callie, you mentioned it, and then you also talk a lot about Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie in the office, and you agree with me that Kazooie is the inferior one of the two.
Don't talk to me.
Anyway, before we get into that argument, which I'm going to win, what does Yooka-Laylee, the main question I want to know is, obviously it's the people that used to work on Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie when it was Rare, and they were working on those as the 3D platformers kind of in the N64 days. But now Playtonic has formed, and it's people that work there, and they're working on Yooka-Laylee, which is very much like an obvious spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, but how much does that translate into the gameplay from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, so from what I've played, I wouldn't say it's really reference heavy. I was surprised. I thought there'd be more references, like direct references to Banjo games, but it's more in spirit. And Grant Kirkhope, who did composing for the original, returned to do sound design and composing for this one. So that is very much the same, and the menus are all the same. And so it's very much Banjo in style rather than in actual content, if that makes sense. But there's also like at the beginning you can do a quiz game. So at the end of Banjo-Kazooie, there's like a final quiz thing. Grunty's Furnace fun. Because I know that whole game.
That ending is one of the reasons I don't like that game as much as Tooie.
I'm a big nerd. I love taking quizzes.
But to win a game though, was like
Yeah.
the SATs, were those a game to you?
I got a 2200 without studying.
Those numbers changed a
2200.
lot.
That's
Those
not
numbers-
possible.
Yeah.
1600 was the max
No, the
for
numbers
me.
changed.
No, you're
a
not
few
that
years
much
ago.
older than me, Mike.
Yeah,
The max
numbers
for me
changed.
was 1600. I promise you.
No, you're not that much older than me.
I promise. Okay. All right.
Anyway, so there's like a quick,
In that case, I got a really bad score. I should not have gone to college or be here right now.
Anyway, but so there's like I said, it's mostly in how it's done rather than what the content is so far, which is a little contrary to what I was expecting. I was expecting more Easter eggs, and I haven't really seen that.
The UI looked just Banjo-Kazooie.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The sound effects are the same. Yuka sort of sounds like sexy grunty when you die in Banjo-Kazooie. You know, she's like, oh.
Yep.
It sounds like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very similar.
Well, when you're doing when the dialogue pops up, it's those talking heads next to those like lines of dialogue scrolling.
You know, like Comic Sans looking font. Yeah.
What about the structure of the game so far? You said there's like this hub world, but from what I played a preview last year. It was still pretty early build, but it seemed like it was more geared. Aren't you rather than these areas existing and they're item gated by like jiggies or whatever it is in this game? Aren't you getting pages that build on the world itself? I forgot how they explained it to me, but do you have any more insight into that?
Yeah, so it's less linear. Not that Banjo-Kazooie is strictly linear, but basically you're finding pages instead of jiggies. It's a very similar structure, but you can unlock like an expanded version of the world. So like you'll be exploring a world, and there will be a point where you can't go any farther, but you can see like, oh, I'm supposed to go over there, but there's no way for me to get over there. You have to spend the pages, I think is what they're called, to expand it and like open up a new area, but you can also choose not to do that and just go on to the next world. So you can do it in any order you want. And I would like to point out that the snake's name is Trouser.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
How's the camera? Because I played the Toolbox, I think whatever they released, and the camera was like not good, and it was just like, the camera needs to be good for this.
Camera is janky so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Which worries me, because 3D platformers are pretty much made or broken by their camera.
I was playing yesterday and I was capturing, and I was like, whoever's going to edit this footage is going to think I'm super bad at this game because the camera was just kind of flying all over the place. And some points. And there was also a weird thing where like this is Tribal Stack Tropics, I think it's called. And rip.
Was that you playing?
That's called Endless Abyss.
That might have been me playing. I don't know. But there's like an area where the camera's just fixed for no reason. And so when you come out of it, like the camera like flew around, and I was like, what's going on? Oh, also you have to spray pollen on these flowers.
Yeah, here's another very Banjo thing, the transformations that Mumbo used to do.
Yeah.
How's like it feel mechanically though from your initial impressions?
I mean, it's very similar. It's all about collectibles. I think my biggest, I wouldn't say concern, but the thing I'm hung up on is, would I enjoy it if I wasn't such a big Banjo person, just because that's like a childhood game of mine. And the other thing is like I'm playing this and I'm sort of like, oh man, I kind of just want to play Banjo, and that's worrying me a little bit. Of course, I'm going to keep playing, and I'm very early on in Yooka-Laylee, but those are two big questions. And then the other question is like, if you didn't play Banjo-Kazooie, like what does this offer you? Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing Mass Effect Andromeda makes me want to play Mass Effect 2. And I don't know that should be the case, but I don't know. That's kind of like, I guess up to each person to judge. But overall, so I think you've played more of this game than you can talk about right now, because your review will be up when?
The embargo is April 4th, so it's a while out.
Okay, cool. So you have a lot of time to play that. Final thoughts based on the preview going into like the next couple weeks. Say I'm a person who really likes Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, and I am wondering whether this game is worth my time so far. Obviously, you don't have the full review, but is it promising so far overall?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it does enough to try to break away from the formula that might be a little dated. I mean, I think they took a lot of steps to make it like a little less linear and give you more options and try to make it modernized, but with that same humor and flavor. So that part is promising to me. And I think definitely if you really enjoy Banjo, it's probably worth taking a look at.
Cool. You're playing on what, Xbox One?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So anybody, if you want to see more about Yooka-Laylee, we have a few interviews with Platonic devs from pretty much throughout the past year or so. We did like kind of do something on whether it might spark another slew of 3D platform games. But if you're interested in those, if you're interested in reading those, you can go check those out at GameSpot.com. And like Callie said, her review will be up on April 4th on GameSpot.com. Another, probably the next big game coming out, which a lot of people are excited for, is Persona 5, which a few people at the GameSpot office have had for a while now. Have any of them beaten it?
A couple people in the UK.
Cool. Yeah, Tamoor Hussain and Lucy James over in the UK have played a lot of Persona 5. And myself, and I think all three of you are Persona fans. Am I correct?
I tend to like the Shin Megami Tensei series a little bit more.
Okay.
From what I've played of this one, I like it more than other Persona games.
Cool. I do have a few like Twitter questions about Persona, but before we get into those, as someone who doesn't know anything about the series, we went to lunch the other day and I was asking you like, what's even the premise of this franchise? Sounds kind of like, from what you told me about the mechanics and the structure, it sounds like something I would actually be into based on the other RPGs similar to that I do like. But as a newcomer to the series, I wanted to know from what you've played and from what you guys understand of it, will it be a good introduction to the series for me?
Yeah, I mean, like, right off the bat, you don't need to know anything about the previous games, right? Like, there's no, there's like, it's brand new cast, new set. I mean, they're always kind of set in Japan, but this is like, Shibuya. This is like, the heart of Tokyo. And it feels like a much more modernized version of what Persona's been doing up until this point. Because like Persona 4 Golden was a big hit on Vita, but it was also a port of a PlayStation 2 game. So the last thing that we've seen from Persona is quite old at this point. So this game definitely looks like something that you would expect today. So it is cross-platform with PS3, and there are some moments where you're kind of like, oh yeah, I guess maybe the game looks like it could have been better, but maybe it was held back a little bit. But by and large, I think it's the style that really kind of gives it its edge, where maybe the graphics aren't like super impressive on a technical level.
Yeah, for someone unfamiliar with the series, what's like the main allure of it, would you say? I mean, it sounds like it's pretty multifaceted, but...
Yeah, I mean, like the primary thing is that you sort of hop between this sort of like slice of life, day-to-day thing as a student in high school, and then you kind of dip into this like dark, like alternate dimension where you have control over magical powers and sort of like an alternate personality that is like a projection of like your inner self, and they are the persona. I guess you could compare them to Stans from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, maybe.
Yes. Anime.
This is the first one too that has. It doesn't have procedurally generated dungeons, right? Like the dungeons are actually...
From what I've seen so far, they seem to be set in stone. Were they procedurally generated before?
In Persona 4, they were.
Okay, because I didn't get too far into that. Because I didn't actually like the day-to-day stuff.
Oh, really?
In that game.
That was my favorite part of that game.
Because a lot of people loved it.
I love slice of life.
Yeah.
I'm all about slice of life. That's my jam.
I think it just... Persona 4 felt like it got to a kind of a slow start, or like a rolling start, like a really slow roll. This one, I kind of like it because you're basically shipped off from your hometown because you stopped a crime from happening, but the police are sort of like looking at you as someone who intervened when they shouldn't have, and therefore you've been kicked out of your school. So you're shipped off to live with this guy who runs like a little restaurant, and he kind of like doesn't really like you, even though he volunteered to take you in. He's really unsure about you, and he's constantly giving you all these warnings like, look, man, you're on your last straw. Like, you screw up, you're out of here. And so you kind of feel like at odds with everything. But then you feel like almost at home when you go into the alternate dimension, as it were, where things become a little bit less tied down to your character, more about the people around you and what they think of themselves.
Sounds like high school.
Yes.
I think somebody mentioned in the chat a while back, but my good friend Andrew Goldfarb over at IGN beat the game in Japanese. So if that's any indication of whether you can approach this game as a newcomer, he does not speak Japanese at all. So he was just able to get through it. So that kind of says a lot to me about the accessibility.
How is that enjoyable?
He is the biggest Persona fan probably in the entire world.
like this game definitely... it's stylish, and like the menus look great and stuff like that, and some of the character avatars, but there's a huge variety of monsters in this game, and some of them are throwbacks to the past, but they're just like really strange concoctions. So like pretty much everything you're looking at all times is like kind of intriguing in one way or another. So I think even if you don't know Japanese, the combat mechanics mixed with the design of the world and the enemies is probably enough to keep you going. I would worry about getting lost and not knowing where to go.
Me too. I mean, I'm sure he consulted people because I know a couple people who played in Japanese and different levels of Japanese knowledge. So he probably asked people for help too. But I think he's trying to platinum it in Japanese and in English because that's just how Andrew is. Love you, Andrew. The other thing I like about Persona is just getting to pick your best girl. Who's your Persona 4 best girl?
I'm not that deep in yet. I've only played about 5 hours or so. So I'm just getting started at school. I'm just sort of like, people are starting to get to know me as the weird kid, the out-of-towner, that kind of thing.
Sounds like a historical drama. I was making fun of you, not me.
I know.
I was just kidding. I was a weird kid. Still am.
I want to know who Mike's best girl would be. That's why I want you to play this game. I want you to play Persona 5 so you can tell me who your best girl is.
Well, let me ask you who you think my best girl would be.
I think I saw a girl in a cat suit. That one.
I'm on board right now, but explain her. What's with her personality?
I don't know enough about her
That's what I
personality.
care about.
I've literally only seen her in that.
She's like Maureen.
She's presented early on as a very interesting character who's kind of like a pivotal character as you're learning to cope with your powers and understand like the situations you're thrust into. Because essentially, like, you just have this cell phone and you're walking around this new part of Tokyo to you, and this icon keeps appearing, and you're like, go away, get out of here. But it persists, and that's the sort of thing that triggers you going to another world. And she's involved in something in the real world, which then dictates sort of the behavior of everything in that alternate dimension.
Okay.
It's very interesting, like, how quickly this game presents a conflict to you that's really like, oh shit, like that's a thing in this game, like, and they just roll with it. I don't want to spoil it. It's not like a huge deal, but it certainly sets an interesting tone early on.
Okay. Well, I'm into the cat girl right now. Jake, what is do you have like have you played any other ones besides 4?
Nope, just Persona 4 Golden.
That seems like the one that, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of
Justified everyone's Vita purchase.
That's why I got a Vita. I heard that's the reason I should get a Vita, so I got a Vita, played that.
That's what I did.
Well, that also seems to be the most pervasive Persona game, or at least maybe in the West. Or am I wrong?
It's tough to say. I mean, 3 and 4 both had a huge following, like in Japan. It led to anime series and movies and stuff like that. And we've even, I guess, 3. Well, at least 4 had its own dancing and fighting games made. The dancing game was kind of whatever, right? Yeah, but the fighting game was really good, made by Arc System Works. That game was actually great for a spin-off title. But yeah, in the West, I think 4 was really the first time that it kind of caught mainstream attention.
So you can, during the combat, your party will consist of all personae, or?
Well, so you have your own abilities and weapons, but then you can call upon your personas to do.
Is that not?
I don't know. I was just countering you. You can call upon your personas to do certain things for you.
Okay.
And you can also negotiate with the demons that you're fighting. It's another kind of core mechanic that came from the Shin Megami Tensei series, which this was born from. Persona seems to have the spotlight now, but Shin Megami Tensei was the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, everything I'm seeing looks like something. I've been getting into like RPG. I mean, I've always liked RPGs, but I've been getting into more RPGs lately. And I think the last one I really grinded with was what was the? I reviewed it and it's escaping me right now. Bravely Second. Thank you so much, and I liked it. And I think that was the last one I really put time into just grinding through and getting every class for the characters.
Right.
Every job. Sorry, they're called in that game. Yeah. Getting the pirate, the cowboy, just like everything you can imagine, honestly. And I really like the variety of that game, which usually seems like a cop out. But
was there a hairdresser class? You said everything I could think of.
What?
The barista class just like badass, and that was my main thing. Jake, have you played 5 yet at all? Persona 5, not Bravely 5th.
No, I have not played Persona 5 at all. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this seems like the game that I want to like make myself get into, because the RPG I wanted to dive into was Mass Effect Andromeda. And for those just joining, we haven't gotten to that yet. We will be talking about it. But I do have a few questions about Persona 5 for people here on the Lobbycast. First, from our friend Goopshoe Riot, a frequenter of the lobby chats and streams here at GameSpot. Is there any word on New Game Plus yet?
I don't know about that.
Okay. And it might be something we can't even talk about if we did know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He is a multi-tiered question. How do you have an idea of how many characters there will be throughout the playthrough?
I don't.
Or how many have you encountered so far in your time with the game, Callie or Pete?
I've encountered 2 characters that are like in your party.
Okay.
Beyond the main character.
Yeah, Sam, I don't.
Sorry, 3 actually.
Oh,
3.
Hold him back, Peter.
Is this like
stop
a
lying.
Is this like a spoiler?
No, I'm just forgetful.
Oh, okay. And then also Goob asked, who is Bae?
Right.
Whatever her name is, she's perfect, and I love her.
The cat lady?
The cat lady.
So are you just
But,
saying
okay.
she would be my...
No, I think she's perfect. But Persona 4, Risei all the way. I don't mess with Chie. Don't do that.
Explain both of these people to me.
I don't remember Persona
Because
4
Jean-Luc is doing
that
it.
much, but I'm pretty sure Risei was mine as well.
Chie, wait. Who's... Jean-Luc looks like he likes Chie.
Yeah, John Luke and I got in a little, not a fight, but
Someone in the chat was just mentioning, before we move on, the Persona 5's art direction and just like the overall art direction of the series, but Persona 5 specifically looks pretty cool.
It's going to stay there all.
It's definitely matured. It's like I think 3 and 4 kind of followed a very similar path. But this one definitely is embracing like jazziness. It's hard to.
I can't take anything you're saying seriously.
I know. It's yeah.
it's
A jazzy like comic book style,
Yeah.
which sounds right up one of my alleys.
It's very very stylish.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I do have one more question, a little more
From Lloyd
a little more
Christmas?
serious question. I didn't write that. It's Lloyd Christmas, on Twitter. He tweets at me every once in a while. I really like that name. If that's his real name, that's awesome, but
I
it's
know
probably
him.
not. You know him?
Not his name.
Oh, he's the one he made me taunt this guy.
Lloyd
Okay.
Christmas.
From Lloyd Christmas
Believe it
on
or
Twitter.
not.
Thank you very much for sending your question. Goob, thanks to you as well. Goob's here in the chat. I'm sure he'll have other questions. Lloyd Christmas, do you think Persona 5 can have the same commercial success today that something like Final Fantasy VII did when it released?
No, absolutely
No.
not.
Do you think anything can?
No. If Final Fantasy, Zelda maybe, right? Like Final Fantasy VII was a game that came along. It struck where the iron was hot, just at the right time, and did something that no other games were really doing, and had a lot of marketing money put behind it. And sort of broke free of, I think, the audience that typically goes for these games. Why are you all smiling?
Because that's still out there.
Yeah.
Risei.
I think we'll see Persona 5 do well, for sure. But I don't think it's going to be sort of a revolutionary game,
Okay.
as it were.
Anybody else contend with that?
Yeah, I think it's it's just niche enough to not be able to get the same traction, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to know something embarrassing?
You've
What?
never played Final Fantasy 7?
That or any other Final Fantasy game. I played 2 hours of 15.
I've never played a Final Fantasy either.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Waters had never played one, and we had him review the 3rd Final Fantasy 13 game.
Yeah. How did that go?
That sounds like a good review.
It was amazing watching him react to all the things that just didn't make sense to even fans.
Did he like it?
I think he walked away with like a 7 or a 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I don't know. I forget. But you guys should play a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, Chastity.
I want to play
Fantasy
6 really
13-3?
badly.
Huh?
Final Fantasy 13-3?
No.
Chastity says the cat girl's name is Anne,
And
and she's perfect.
that changes things.
Bland.
Yeah.
She does this thing. It's so cute. She calls it a man egg.
Puts a hard-boiled egg in her mouth and just
All right.
swishes it
Swirls
around.
it around.
All right. I'm going to move on, if only to get that graphic off the screen. Lloyd Christmas, thank you so much for your question. and Goob, as always, thank you for your input. And so Persona 5 release date
It's coming out April 4th.
April
Our review
4th.
will hit March 29th.
from Lucy James in the
Lucy
UK,
James
right?
in the UK.
So yeah, you can stay tuned to GameSpot for that. We'll have, I'm sure we'll have videos and stories about the game coming out before its release, as in its Western release.
It's been out in Japan since September.
And from what I've
long
seen,
time.
Japan likes it.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So for those of you excited for that, that is kind of, I think that's our, I don't know, kind of subjective, but I think that's the biggest next release after.
Yeah, totally.
There's a few, end of April's pretty packed. With mid-tier stuff?
Yeah. But Persona 5 is going to stand out, and then Prey, I think, will be the next one that gets people talking.
Cool.
But
So-
hopefully Persona 5 is interesting to a lot of people.
Cool. So yeah, stay at GameSpot.com as we approach the release of that game. All right. Game of the hour.
Oh, here we go.
All right, there's a lot of people talking about Mass Effect in the chat on YouTube and Twitch. For those of you just joining, we are gonna get more into Mass Effect specifically, but first I want to kind of lean into it. If it kind of hints at my take on the game, I want to talk about other AAA games that kind of had rough launches for one reason or another, and whether or not they fixed said problems at release, and maybe can Mass Effect learn from them, or maybe have the same success in subsequent weeks or months after release. But anyway, yeah. I mean, Mass Effect is out. We will talk about it more specifically. But it's kind of having a rough launch. I mean, there's been, I think, GIFs about its poor performance technically are kind of being overblown, and they're really funny. But I think there are bigger problems with this game than the technical problems. But as it stands now, it's kind of buggy, to say the least. You just saw there, I think that was Jean-Luc Seibke, his gameplay of Mass Effect Andromeda. He's enjoying this game, I believe, for the most part. And he was talking to Drac, the Krogan, your Krogan party character in this game, and another Drac came out of the Drac he was talking to and started wandering the room. And then afterward, he's going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he could talk to both of them. And that's not supposed to happen. And then I was talking to Brad over at Giant Bomb. He was saying that he restarted the game to try something out. I don't know if it was a different platform or what, but he restarted the game, and when your character wakes up from cryosleep, right when you get control, there's Krogans raining from the sky. Right when you get control of your character, Sarah or Scott Ryder, whoever you choose, from cryosleep, the idea being they're sent to the Andromeda Galaxy. They've been in cryosleep 600-something years. They left right after the events of Mass Effect 2, but before the events of 3.
How many farts built up in those 600 years?
Yeah, I know. You just
God.
wake up and just rip. That's why the Nexus is failing, because it's filled with methane gas. But a character, an NPC, was next to... there was an NPC next to him when he woke up, and he talked to him, and he recognized the dialogue from his other playthrough. That was a character from later in the game he's a quest giver, and he was there next to his character right at the beginning and should not have been there. And he gave him the quest complete dialogue from 4 hours later.
That's no good.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What? That sounds weird.
Yeah, and then Jean-Luc again was capturing some stuff, and he was talking to...
This is a conversation happening with a wall and whatever that object is.
Yes. He was talking about... If you're wondering why we're showing boring footage like this, that's because this is what we saw when we were playing. You fight the Ket here, and this is, like I said, at least some funny videos, and there are GIFs and whatnot of PB, the Asari character, holding her gun the wrong way.
Oh, I hate PB.
And there are other problems with this game, and again, we'll get into those. Here are the two Dracs right here, just kind of hanging out. Just spontaneous clone bustion happened, and now here he is, both of his versions talking to him. But, oh man, I got off track because of this footage. We can use more of this in a little bit. But I want to talk about other AAA games with rough releases. The first one that comes to mind that was pretty broken was Assassin's Creed Unity. Do you guys remember that when it released?
Oh, yeah.
Did you play it?
No.
No.
I played it when it was $20 later down the line, and
Yeah.
it was just even then it was still broken, and it wasn't a very good game too. So
This was when I was kind of falling off the Assassin's Creed train.
you lasted a long time.
Well, because
Yeah, longer than most.
because Black Flag was one right before this, correct? 4?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Black Flag I liked it.
And I really liked Black Flag, but not for Assassin's Creed purposes. This game was rough when it released. It was sometimes you just get clip into crowds and get stuck when half the game or
Say no more.
All right, we'll definitely watch the video.
I missed
version
my
of this.
flight. And this dude,
Posing.
he's using
Just
some sort of ice sword.
This is the famous hairball guy, right? With the 2
Yeah.
eyes and the
Yeah.
hairball.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Jean-Luc has footage you could pull up of that horrifying face guy that they showed at
I hope
first.
he doesn't pull that up.
But yeah, this game, I didn't really like this game outside the bugs, but this was rough when it launched. And they started subsequently repairing it after they released. But it still wasn't that great of a game. But, here we go. Is it going to keep climbing? Nope. Try again. Nope. Oh, man. Yeah, so the guy with the friggin' face, in this lapel through his mouth. This was not a rough launch, but to Ubisoft's credit, they did repair it in the subsequent weeks. I don't know what state it's in now, but it just didn't really hit home at release.
I could watch these all day.
Yeah.
How are you talking while watching this?
I don't know. I'm struggling. I get knocked down. Okay. Here's the montage of these.
It's I don't know if
is
you
a
ever
new
did
show.
paralysis or whatever in Oblivion or Skyrim, and they just freeze and they just roll down a mountain or whatever.
Yeah, the opposite of ragdolling. You just tumble end over icy limb. Okay, gonna try to move on from Unity if possible. So Unity, they did do some repairs to it, some like numerous patches. It still took a while, but I guess they made it better technically. I don't still really like that game, but at least they, fixed major problems people had with it. Another one, which is more due to multiplayer servers in general, was Battlefield 4.
This is a big one because for me, I got an Xbox One at launch and I got Battlefield 4 and that was it. Didn't work. So I was like, all right, well, I got this Xbox One that I'm not playing.
Damn it.
There it is.
I thought we were
Is that
done.
how you felt staring at your Xbox?
Yeah, pretty much.
This looks like the MLB Well, MLB, okay, to
Oh, that
clarify,
was
MLB
scary.
is very
That was very scary.
MLB 2K or MLB 17 is very, very. It's still not done, so don't take that. But you can look up MLB 17 face glitch.
I mean, the devs shared
That gave me
those.
the devs shared them. Like they had a good sense of
It was
humor about
way
it.
early. Yeah.
That was that what we just saw was a release game, but Battlefield 4 was just not working, and the campaign was.
No, well, the campaign too. I think it wouldn't save my game. I'd play 4 or 5 hours of it, and then it would delete my game, and I'd be like, okay, I guess I'll try again. So I'd try again, and my friends were like, yeah, I beat it, but I just did it in one sitting because it kept happening to me as well. So it's the game was broken.
Yeah, and do you remember how long it took to fix?
I don't know. I
It
stopped
was
playing
weeks, right?
I think I played it again a couple months after and it worked, but
Yeah.
it was probably weeks, if not months.
Yeah, Aaron Sampson, he's like a resident military shooter, but especially Battlefield expert. And I remember him talking about it, and he was saying it was super disappointing. Don't ever mention Bad Company to him because he'll talk forever about how good that game is. But when on the rare occasion he talks about another Battlefield, he's talking about Battlefield 4's broken launch. And I remember when I first came to GDC in 2013 in San Francisco, it was like a massive Battlefield 4. It was the Battlefield 4 reveal, and it was that was the biggest ad they had over at Moscone Convention Center, and then a few months later, it was just the game was destroyed at release.
Yeah.
But they did fix it. It took a long time. Did not release in great shape. Yeah, I guess good on them down the road. But all right, Destiny. This is different because this was not technically massively flawed at the beginning.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't broken, but a lot of people had problems with vanilla Destiny, and a lot of that was rectified with Taken King.
Yeah.
But I mean, replacing Dinklebot.
Wait, what's the famous line? That wizard came from the moon one.
That wizard came from the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who was directing those voice acting sessions, but
Yeah.
they
So
fixed it.
yeah. So the interesting thing there is because it's a multiplayer game, and that's the main conceit of it. It's constantly evolving. So I liked that they took steps to fix problems that weren't necessarily game-breaking problems, but that were hurting people's enjoyment of a lot of things you could do by yourself. And so I think that was an example of something that, regardless of how you feel about Destiny, it definitely improved over time. And so it's an example of something that they fixed a lot of dialogue problems and gave the story a little more interest. And I enjoyed Taken King a lot. I played all of Taken King.
Yeah, mechanically, Destiny felt awesome right away. It still does, but I also was playing it just for the sake of it. I didn't really love it, but then I like Taken King a lot too for how it changed the structure of the game. And also the fact that they replaced that voice acting and kind of wrote a whole new script for who was it? Troy
Nolan North.
Nolan
I think,
North.
did it.
Yeah,
I
Nolan
think
North
so.
did your Ghost, and they fixed it. I think I didn't really like Rise of Iron. But maybe that was just because, in comparison to Taken King, which revamped Destiny, kind of paled in comparison.
Well, yeah, Rise of Iron wasn't a completely new it didn't add as much as Taken King did, but it also reused a lot of assets, and so all of the enemies in Rise of Iron were just slightly altered reskins, and the areas were reskins, and so that's what I didn't like about it. It was very repetitive to what I'd played before, in a way that different from how Destiny is naturally repetitive, I guess. So yeah, Rise of Iron was a step, not down for me, but it just was I just am happy with Taken King. I just want to play Taken King.
Sure.
The raid was good.
Yeah. And then in terms of another rough launch, it's very different because I think this is based more on pre-release marketing and what people expected, but it might be worth talking about No Man's Sky, a game you liked.
I did yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a game that I was really excited for going into it. It was one where it was kind of okay, I'll review this and I'll find something interesting to keep myself, or just to get excited about. And what I found early on was the Atlas path. For me, that made the game super fulfilling, and everything around it was kind of just in support of that, which is great. But I think a lot of people were expecting this, like, you know, once in a while you'll meet someone from the other side of the universe that's another player, and you can like share all these things. And yeah, that didn't happen. So I didn't really find that terribly disappointing, but certainly a lot of people did. And Hello Games has, you know, gone to great lengths to sort of add stuff. That aspect still really isn't there, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you guys play? Jake, you played, right?
I played a lot of No Man's Sky.
Did you like it despite it not having those things?
Yeah, I mean, I tempered my expectations quite a bit, I'd say. Like, I know a lot of people who are mad about it were expecting, like, this grand adventure with this great story and, like, all these different characters you'll meet along the way. And, like, maybe you'll come across a civilization. When instead, it was just kind of, like... But the act of exploring and, like, especially, like, taking off in your ship and, like...
In that sense,
freedom.
it was a grand adventure, I think.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, just, like, the idea, like, the Atlas path in particular, the fact that you're, like, traveling through, like... dozens, if not hundreds of different solar systems with planets the size of, like, I don't know, how big did they say they were? Like, huge planets. Like, it's quite the adventure, I think, when you look at it like that.
It was pretty impressive, but then also, you know, it seems like a lot of people who were excited couldn't just look at the game at face value and I think enjoy it for what it was. So yeah, different from these other examples, but I think it's sort of that, like, what do fans expect, right?
Yes, I mean, like, in best case scenario, like in Destiny, I think was a good example, like Kelly mentioned. Taken King, whether it was an expansion or DLC, these games kind of, you know, like, improved in the aftermath. Others that were technically glitchy at first, obviously, you know, in 2017, unfortunately, a lot of games are released without the polish that we used to expect, I think, now, because you can get day one patches and whatnot, or sometimes, you know, like in Assassin's Creed Unity, it could take a while. Battlefield 4 could take a while, but thankfully, most of the ones we just mentioned were kind of improved in the aftermath. But let us know if we forgot any, especially ones that did kind of get fixed in subsequent weeks or months after its release. Let us know in the YouTube comments or in the chat as we move on with the show. Now, let's get really into Mass Effect Andromeda. Scott Butterworth at GameSpot, you can go read his review. He gave the game a 6 out of 10. He played, I don't know, like 60 hours or something total. Yeah. He's playing a lot more yesterday just to check it out. But he's on vacation, a well-earned vacation after PAX, and reviewing that game for us. But we, at the office, all kind of have differing opinions on this game. Some of us are really diehard Mass Effect fans. Some of us are kind of coming to it fresh.
Diehard.
Yeah. And we wanted to talk more about it, but also we kind of wanted to branch off the games we were just talking about to kind of suss out whether we think Mass Effect Andromeda might be improved down the road. I just want to get initial impressions here at the table first. Kelly, you're like sort of early in the game.
I'm
still?
pretty early still, yeah. But I think my biggest problem is the writing for a lot of the dialogue.
Yeah.
So just to get that out of the way.
Stilted dial. Yeah, we can get more into it. But
I mean, it's like, especially the flirting stuff is like my 13-year-old fan fiction. Like, it's real bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, when you're like 13, you think being awkward's very charming. And you're like, oh, I'll just try to be extra awkward. And it's like, no, don't try to do that.
Writers know Anne from Persona.
No.
See, I know Persona now. I can do
she's
can name drop.
She's no best girl. But
Jake, you like Mass Effect a ton. You're doing well. I'll pimp something quick. You're doing the saddest party on the Citadel. Explain this to me.
So Jean-Luc and I are actually playing through the end of Mass Effect 2. We've actually already done that. We're on Mass Effect 3 right now. We're just trying to kill as many of our companions as we can. It's rough. Like, we just killed, I don't want to spoil it. We killed a certain character and it kind of broke my heart. I regret doing this whole series.
Is it Garrus?
Well, that was sad,
That
but
broke
like
my
that
heart.
was like a quick death. Like, he got shot in the face with a rocket, and it's like, okay.
Or are you talking about when they force you to cut off Morden's head with a saw?
Well, it is the character in question, but that doesn't happen.
This is the game I want to play.
I know.
Sounds good.
It's like a
where you
horror
can
game.
kill everyone.
But yeah, so I'm a big Mass Effect fan. I do like Andromeda. I think Andromeda, there is a lot wrong with this game. I think the writing is the biggest offense, because like, when you play a BioWare game, that's what you expect. Like, good writing, good story, good characters. And all of that kind of falls flat, which is a huge shame. There are some characters that are okay. There's some characters that are good. And there are some like dialogue sequences and like certain aspects of the story that are really cool. But when it boils down to it, like, I think Scott actually mentioned it in his review that like a lot of that game needed to be cut. Like the good stuff is buried, and I think that's very true. Like I think I'm at like 30 hours now, and there's probably about like 4 or 5 missions where I've like really enjoyed, as opposed to like Mass Effect 2, where every mission was like had its own story, had its own arc, and it had like a cool location. And this, it's like, all right, so I'm flipping switches on a planet, and that leads to something else. Like I don't know, like I've been playing a Sudoku puzzle for like the past 45 minutes.
Yeah,
this
explain
morning.
that quick, how that works. Well, not Sudoku, how Sudoku works.
I've been waiting 5 years for this game, and I'm doing Sudoku puzzles.
Yeah, no, that's like the hacking and these remnant terminals you come across. It's not a spoiler now. You know, there's like an ancient civilization. That's all I'll say. But like the hacking in this game is a Sudoku puzzle.
Yeah, like
and
there's
before
some-
the show, Jake was trying to do one. He's like just swearing at his computer. And
like-
it's not that they're hard. It's just why am I doing Sudoku?
Yeah, exactly. There's some simple ones that take you like, I don't know, like a couple minutes, and it's like, that's fine. You know, that's a nice diversion. But then there are other ones that I'm at for like 20, 30, 40 minutes, and it's like, this just brought this game to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
I
liked my theory was that in the Andromeda galaxy, the remnants, to protect their technology, thought this like really clever puzzle would protect it, but then all of a sudden
Wait,
these
the name's
aliens
Sudoku
from a galaxy where that's like sold at gas stations comes in. It's like, well, this is Sudoku. It's like a word search is there, and then you're like, oh sweet, I just gained access to this. I won't spoil it.
I think though, because I did just like, I guess kind of shit on Mass Effect Andromeda a lot, and like to be fair, I am enjoying this game. I am a huge Mass Effect fan, so maybe it's rose tinted glasses, because like it is cool being back in this universe. It is cool seeing a lot of these different races again, seeing that interaction between the different species, and I think the worlds are really cool. Like you get to one later called Eladin, which is by far one of the coolest settings in a Mass Effect game, I would say, at least in terms of an open one. And there's like 6 or 7 different planets you can explore. Some are huge, some are smaller, but doing that is really cool. And it makes I just wish everything supporting those cool areas was also cool. But if you're a Mass Effect fan, like, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, so one thing that, you know, when Scott's reviewing the game, he's just judging the game on its own merits, right? It's a review. But a lot of people think that we're disliking Andromeda because in comparison to Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3, it's worse. But I love those games, but I didn't come into this from like a fan side. I came into this and I just objectively don't like this game for a lot of reasons. Like Callie mentioned, there's stilted dialogue. I don't think there's much momentum to the plot, despite the fact that the idea of us being the alien coming to a new galaxy and not being visited is really cool. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 was really cool premise in that it's this galaxy that has already come to grips with the fact that there's alien life, and it's got a galactic government. There's like, you know, different species are helping each other out or at war or have their own problems that like humans know about. This game is it's all brand new, and it fell into so many, not just like sci-fi tropes, but also video game tropes. Like I immediately felt like I was thrust into combat for no reason. There wasn't anything interesting about the arrival in the Andromeda galaxy unless you went around and like maybe 1 out of 8 NPCs had something like actually interesting problem that didn't exist in Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. These people just left everything they knew behind, and I don't know, they seemed fine immediately. I did character creator. Side note, don't do character creator if you don't want your dad to look like a offspring of Jeff Goldblum and William H. Macy if they kind of like had an affair on the side. Yeah, he looks, I don't have footage of it. Thank God. If I did, I would scrub my computer.
Hate her makeup so much.
It doesn't look good because they kind of like take this amalgamation of, I think, I could be wrong, I think they take what your twin looks like, because if you pick Sarah Ryder, Scott Ryder will be your twin, and they take what both of those look like and kind of combine it. And what happened to mine was just a monstrosity.
See, mine looked a little bit like Edward James Olmos.
Oh, nice.
So it was fine. I was like, oh, the Battlestar Galactica feel.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, the writing in this game, it's just between the dialogue, I don't think the pacing is great because you're getting distracted by all these side quests. The side quests I have problems with. You said you did 4 or 5 missions which are interesting to you. You've got 4 or 5 on me. Like I didn't really enjoy any of them that I played.
Yeah, I mean, well, how far are you though?
I did.
You're still on EOS, correct? The first.
No. I did the next.
Okay.
I'm on the.
I
did the next
like
2.
Vold
I did
and the other 2.
I did those 2. I'm on the one after that.
Kadara.
I'm doing the stuff after Vold and Havarl.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I don't think I'm as far as you, but I'm into the game. And like I said, this kind of reminds me of Dragon Age Inquisition in that I'm doing so much that doesn't matter. And, I'm not judging it based on how it compares to Horizon or Zelda, but those games, like, I was exploring because there was the stuff you were doing, like, contributed to your character, or it felt meaningful within the world. This stuff just feels like it's a checklist. I was reading a review over at Kotaku today, I think, and I think it was Patricia Hernandez was saying it reminded her of a really full email inbox, and it overwhelmed her, and she didn't know like which one to pursue first and which one to actually kind of prioritize. And they tell me that the Nexus is, like things aren't going well. I'm trying not to spoil anything, and I won't, but things aren't like going according to plan. That's been evident from the trailers and everything. But they don't convey that. They tell you that, but you don't see much of it. You have to go seek it out, right? And that was always the case. Like that was what's cool about Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, and some parts of Andromeda, some of the characters.
At least I've found where
But
you do see it.
Yeah, maybe I just
I
haven't.
haven't seen a lot of examples, and like the example I think of right now doesn't come till later. But I think it's a pretty cool example of how they are struggling.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it capitalizes on the cool premise that it has right away, and I don't think it feels more like this, like almost like third person. The story they're telling seems very separate from the gameplay is my main problem, and that has been my case throughout. But again, you're farther in, but maybe it'll get better for me. But at the same time, if I'm 12 hours in and it's still not grabbing me, then I don't want to keep playing.
Well, from what I've seen and from what I've heard talking to different people, it sounds like depending on what you get distracted by and what you choose to do, you could be having a vastly better or worse experience with it. Because a lot of people I know who've been playing for a while have been like, oh yeah, it really opened up, and like it started out with like a rocky start and the combat was great, but everything else was a little rough, and then I met this character and it was really cool and I had this cool arc. But if you decide to do a bunch of other shit, you're gonna miss all of that, and then you're gonna have a really bad, you could have a bad 30 hours. And I think that's probably the main problem is Patricia's metaphor is really accurate, where it's like if you just follow the wrong trail, if you have this overwhelming email inbox and you find something that's really bad and you keep doing that and you never get rewarded, you're going to get burnt out really quickly. And to go back to the a Zelda comparison, the reason it's different is you get rewarded consistently. You can get very distracted, and that game is very overwhelming, but you are almost always rewarded by what you do. And I think that's probably a big problem with Andromeda. I really can't shake the dialogue is just unfortunately very amateurish. Like there's a character who basically gives you her life story, and she's just like, you meet her and she's like, oh well, I'm trans, and it's like, I appreciate the effort, but like that's just so like your first creative writing effort, and that really is so disappointing when that's why I would want to play a Mass Effect game. I just can't shake that, even though I really do enjoy the combat and exploration is cool and I like the universe and I love space. Like that's just really hard for me to get past.
I want to chime in as someone who really has not really cared about Mass Effect at all. We say not to compare it to games like Zelda or whatever, but for me, I think it is possible to make comparisons there, not direct ones, but coming off of games like Horizon, Zelda, Persona 5, Nier, like those games make excellent first impressions. The 4 hours I played of Mass Effect Andromeda did nothing to excite me. It only pushed me away from the game, and trying to play it felt like I was forcing myself to do something I really didn't want to do. I think first impressions are very important, and this game honestly really fails at doing that. So, as someone who doesn't have like an understanding of what the series can do and what it's been great at in the past, like there's a huge barrier there, because if you don't have those hopes and wishes, you don't know what to look forward to. Like the combat starts off very basic and, in my opinion, boring, right? The game throws a lot of systems at you, like, okay, here's how you upgrade all your profiles, here how you become a different warrior, here are all the skills. It doesn't explain any of it. The UI is a mess. The animations look like crap. Like, I could just go on, and I don't want to hate for the sake of hating, but there's something to be said for a game that can't make an argument for itself immediately. Like, every game I just mentioned, other than this, there was something that made me, multiple things that made me want to keep playing, where like I couldn't put the controller down. Like that's a huge problem this game has, and I think that's probably a reason why people may be struggling to really get into it, because it takes so long to justify what it's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an RPG, but looking at another recent game, Night in the Woods with its writing grabbed me within like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an RPG. Like I think you can compare games just on what they do in general and how good they are at being a captivating experience that gets you excited to be in that world, to play a part in it. I was just thrust into this Pathfinder position. Suddenly, I'm in charge of everything, just right off the bat with like an event that's just really ham-fisted. And then like the game is sort of ushering me around, and I don't feel like I've earned my position. I don't feel like the things I'm doing are building up to anything, really.
I mean, look at Witcher 3. That's a massive game. It's also an RPG, but it takes a while to really get momentum in that game, right? But it's still right away. Like, you get a really good sense of the world. I think they're making good use of making me feel like I'm part of it. I get a sense of Geralt. I get a sense of the people around him, like Yennefer, or what's his master's name? Geralt's
Vesemir.
Vesemir, thank you. Mr. 400 hours in that game. Or no, more than that now.
More than that. Double.
4 playthrough. Yeah, 800 hours. Sorry. We talk about that all the time. But I don't know. I said it the other day and it seemed to resonate. I was like, I could have played an entire playthrough of Night in the Woods in the time it took me to get into Mass Effect.
Yes, I want to touch on Night in the Woods a little bit. I read an article yesterday. I think it was on Waypoint. Forgive me for not knowing who wrote it, but it was about awkward dialogue that's natural and how Night in the Woods really masters that, and how when we're speaking, we very rarely speak perfectly the way we want to write. You don't really reform a sentence and rewrite a sentence. And what Night in the Woods does really well is the dialogue is naturally very awkward. Like, May's just kind of like, I don't know, man. And it feels like how you would talk to somebody, versus the writing in Mass Effect is awkward in an unnatural way, if that makes sense. Like, there's a scene where you're flirting and she's just like, "Hi, I think you're cute, and I like having you around." And I'm like, no one says that. So the writing in Night in the Woods is like, I just wanted to highlight that difference. Like, it's not awkwardness that's the problem. It's the, is it something that a person would actually say? And that goes the opposite way. If you have somebody who's perfectly articulating themselves all the time and is always eloquent, that's also very unnatural. And so you have to find a good balance when you're writing dialogue. That's very hard for a lot of writers, because you're used to crafting beautiful sentences. You're used to retooling a sentence.
I think that's definitely harder to sell on a AAA game, though, to make like Mass Effect. The original Mass Effect series like had a lot of tight dialogue, but I think it also left room for that kind of awkward kind of like. I was actually looking at the script for Reboot today, and you bring up like that scene where Tali is drunk.
Yeah,
and I think like. Yeah, like A Night in the Woods is a different case in a sense, because I feel like you can do something like that. You can make it awkward. While Mass Effect, you have a tight narrative that you're trying to tell, and you need to have, like, the characters need to say what they need to say.
Yeah.
But I do agree that, like, Mass Effect Andromeda just, like, can not get, like, it just takes itself way too seriously.
It's been filtered too many times.
Exactly,
Yeah. But I guess the overriding question, do you think that with DLC obviously there will be patches that will fix a lot of the technical bugs, but with DLC, with expansions and whatnot, do you think they'll improve the core things we have wrong, like maybe they did with Destiny?
No.
I don't think so either.
I think that
I hope they do.
They can fix some
I'm
of the
trying to be positive. I
and,
hope
like,
they will.
physics stuff like that. Yeah. Like, sure, that's possible. They're not going to go in and redo animations unless someone forgot to check a box like, oh, right, their eyebrows are supposed to move. Let's put that back in the game.
I think that, animations, I don't think they're going to fix that. I think bugs, they'll fix that. I think DLC has the potential to redeem some of the writing. I know one thing about Dragon Age Inquisition. I didn't play all of it, but I do know that the DLC was some of the best in Inquisition. Some of the best parts of Inquisition.
Sorry, I'm just imagining a DLC in which BioWare goes back to when Ryder is taking her SATs and you find out she scored like a 20. You're like, oh, that now her personality makes sense. I get it. That's why he or she is dumb. Sorry.
But I do think that they can, at least for fans who like stuck with Andromeda like me, who's, even though I'm not in love with it, I'm sticking with it. I think they can redeem it through some really tight, well-written DLC. Whether that'll happen, I don't know. I hope it does. But as a whole, like, I don't think they're going to do anything to bring someone like Peter back or Mike, who is a fan of the other games.
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Pete this. This is part of a wider thing. I've been really good lately about, like, unless I was reviewing things back last year, I don't review anything anymore. And obviously it's different if you have to review a game. But now that I'm kind of looking at like doing different things, I'm better about not forcing myself through a game I really don't like, which I realize that's, I am lucky enough to have access to a lot of games for my job. So I have a lot of options, but I'm also like, I feel like I need to beat Andromeda, but I'm really trying to get myself not to, because I don't see the point, and I don't think it's pulling me through. And
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, if it's gonna take you 60 hours and like a lot of that isn't good, like,
yeah,
I don't think it's worth it.
But like at least I would wait until they patch at least a little bit of what's wrong with it. But I don't think it's gonna fix it, intrinsically. Like like Destiny, like Callie had mentioned, Destiny Taken King was a really good example. I think that actually, and that's different because Destiny is, they said from the beginning, Bungie was saying Destiny is almost like a platform in itself rather than a singular discrete game. Mass Effect itself is a very linear, like you were saying, narrative, like game and then sequel trilogy.
It's not really something that's constantly evolving the way Destiny is.
Or like just any multiplayer game nowadays. But I do think that Destiny did a really good job of addressing major problems and also just like smaller things that people were just really bothered by. And then that came through. They got a new voice actor and they rewrote some of his dialogue, and that was awesome. But yeah, I don't see stuff like that happening for Andromeda because I think the problems are deeper than just what Destiny had.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I've said this before, but I'd be able to overlook almost every issue if the writing and dialogue and characters were good.
Definitely, because there are people out there that like the game.
Yeah.
To clarify, like I don't like Jean-Luc's IP, like Jake's like kind of lukewarm
I'm
on
liking
it.
it.
Scott still had a good time in the end, I think, and like it's just a matter of preferences at this point. So read the reviews, decide for what you will. I don't like the game, doesn't mean you don't have to. Pete doesn't really like it, doesn't mean you have to. Callie's gonna play more or no?
I'm gonna play more. I'm pretty on the fence right now.
Cool. All right, so that was our Mass Effect Andromeda to talk about, like whether it can be fixed in the future based on like the other AAA games with rough launches that we mentioned. So let us know what you think. Do you like do you like Mass Effect Andromeda? Do you like what BioWare Montreal has done with this? Because I know there are a lot of people out there that are enjoying this game for what it is. And also, just let us know what you think they could do in the future feasibly to fix this. I do have one question I want to get on really quick. Scott Rabideau on Twitter, I believe. Thank you for sending a question. He says, is a new Mass Effect trilogy pretty much guaranteed at this point? Like, haven't they said this is going to be... Or no, haven't they said Andromeda could be a standalone experience?
Yeah, so it sounds like they said it could be a standalone experience, but Scott, who's finished it, said there's definitely room.
I mean, yeah,
for,
that's what they would do.
That's like business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think we're gonna get like a trilogy in terms of like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, where your decisions or whatever carry over. But
wrap up our show. But like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube or GameSpot, let us know in the comments what you think about Mass Effect Andromeda. You can go read Scott Butterworth's review. He gave it a 6 out of 10. That is up on GameSpot right now. On Sunday at 3 p.m., Jake and I, we have the 3rd episode of our show Reboot going up. It's I'll get more in depth with my opinion, more specifically, or I guess broadly, about science fiction in video games and just movies in general and whatnot, and also why I don't think Andromeda kind of does science fiction well. That's not necessarily Jake's opinion too. It's mainly mine, but well yeah, you can go watch that. But yeah, like I said, let us know what you think about the game in the comments. All right, man, I really want to play. I was telling Jean-Luc, and like you mentioned
this.
Kelly was saying what Yooka-Laylee made you want to play banjo, and you don't know if that's a good thing yet.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about Andromeda. It makes me want to play Mass Effect 2. I really want to play 2. Anyway, all right. Yeah, to reiterate, beginning of the show, I mentioned, and Shiva, who's in charge of our Twitter, had said in the chat that you can go to GameSpot's Twitter, follow it if you don't, retweet the tweet about the giveaway. We have these. Can you grab these again? Sorry, we have the Dota 2 mouse and mouse pad. Like we have that library of collector's edition stuff here. The Nick Margarita Memorial Library, as we like to call it. Jake and Callie are going to model this sick merchandise. You can get later on in the week. We'll pick a winner, and maybe that'll be you if you retweet that tweet by GameSpot. And yeah, so I don't know if you're playing Dota 2 recently, then maybe these will be good for that. I don't know.
The mouse pad only works with Dota 2.
The mouse pad only works with Dota 2, so be careful.
If you don't play,
yes.
sorry. Dota 2.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, you can do that. And that's pretty much our show. You're going to Portland this weekend for your birthday.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday. What is the opposite of belated? Befurly?
Early.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
Early birthday. Thank you.
Callie, you're playing Yooka-Laylee, Mass Effect. What else are you doing? Do you have weekend plans? It's only Wednesday, but I don't know if you plan ahead.
Oh, I'm going to a house cooling party.
Because it's someone that's moving out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a former GameSpot editor, actually.
Yes. There's
Alexa
gonna be,
Korea.
Yeah.
She's moving, so she's having a house cooling party.
Going to her party, and there's going to be a clothes exchange. It's going to be a whole thing.
Wait, what?
All the girls are bringing old clothes, and we're going to trade.
Oh, I thought you meant like like you go and you all exchange clothes at the party. I was like, there's a word for that kind
Not
of
one
party.
of those kind of parties.
Okay, Jake, what about you?
I'm filming something. Yeah, just for school.
Oh, really?
Essentially,
I thought you were trying to pimp
No,
reboot again. I was like, we've talked enough about it.
No, it's not
All
that
right.
exciting. It's
All right, cool. And enjoying the new setup, and we're really happy. Join us in the Twitch and the YouTube chats, and have a good week. And until then, we'll see you.
Reese's best girl.